You stop at the edge of a ridge. Across the valley, smoke rises from a fire you did not light. Figures move around it, upright, two-legged, scanning the horizon the way you do. They are people. They are just not your kind of people. For most of the time humans have existed, this was not a strange sight. It was ordinary. You shared this planet with other humans. Not other animals, other humans. Different species of human, walking different valleys, lighting different fires, looking back at you across the same cold wind. There is exactly one human species alive today. One. And if you understood how rare that is, it would unsettle you. Because for nearly the entire human story, the Earth held many of us at once. So why are you the only one left? Start with what you assume. You probably picture human history as a straight line. A hunched ape slowly stands up, loses its hair, sharpens a spear, and becomes you. One smooth march from primitive to modern. Clean, linear, inevitable. That picture is wrong. The truth looks less like a ladder and more like a bush, branches everywhere. At many points in the deep past, several kinds of human existed side by side, at the very same time, sometimes within walking distance of each other. How do you know this? Because of a bone the size of your fingernail. In 2008, in a cave called Denisova in the Altai Mountains of Siberia, researchers found a tiny fragment of a child's finger bone. It did not look like much. But a geneticist named Svante Pabo had spent years learning to pull ancient DNA out of old bones, work so difficult and so important that it won him a Nobel Prize. His team read the DNA inside that fingertip, and it did not match you. It did not match Neanderthals. It belonged to an entirely unknown kind of human. We had discovered a whole branch of humanity from a single finger, a people now called the Denisovans, identified not by their skulls or their tools, but by their code. Think about that. There were humans on this earth so completely lost that we did not even know to look for them until their DNA spoke up from a cave floor. And the Denisovans were not alone. You have heard of the Neanderthals, stocky, powerful, cold-adapted humans who ruled Ice Age Europe for hundreds of thousands of years. They buried some of their dead. They made tools and ornaments. They cared for their injured. They were not the dim cavemen of old cartoons. They were people, fully and undeniably, just built on a different frame than yours. Then it gets stranger. On the island of Flores in Indonesia, in a cave called Liang Bua, researchers led by Mike Morwood and Peter Brown unearthed something in 2003 that almost did not seem real. A tiny adult human, barely a meter tall, with a brain the size of an orange. A miniature species of human. The world started calling them the Hobbit. Their formal name is Homo floresiensis, and they were still alive on that island within the last 60,000 years, which in the scale of human history is yesterday. Then there is Homo luzonensis, found in a cave in the Philippines and announced only in 2019, and Homo naledi, pulled from a nearly unreachable chamber deep in a South African cave system. Each discovery is another branch, another kind of human you never knew you had lost. So let the picture settle. Reconstruct the world as it actually was. Roughly 50,000 years ago, the Earth was crowded with humanity, but not your humanity alone. In Europe, Neanderthals tracked reindeer through the snow. In the mountains and forests of Asia, Denisovans endured altitudes that would leave you gasping. On Flores, the tiny hobbits hunted dwarf elephants and dodged giant storks. On Luzon, another small people made their own way. And spreading out of Africa came your ancestors, tall and lean and restless. 5 kinds of human, maybe more, all breathing the same air at the same time. Now picture the moment that should give you chills. 2 groups meet. Your ancestors crest a hill, and there, across the valley, is a band of Neanderthals. Both groups stop, both stare. Each is looking at something that is almost, but not quite, a mirror. Same fire, same tools, same eyes studying the same enemy, but a different face, a different body, a different kind of mind looking back. What did they feel in that moment? Fear, curiosity, recognition? You will never fully know. But here's what the evidence tells you they did, at least sometimes. They had children together. This is the twist that rewrites everything. The other humans did not simply vanish, beaten in some clean war by your superior ancestors. They mixed with you. They merged into you. And the proof is not buried in a cave. It is inside your own body, right now. If your roots lie anywhere outside Africa, you are carrying roughly 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA. It is woven into your immune system, your skin, the way your body fights infection. And some people carry Denisovan DNA too. The clearest example is breathtaking. Many people living on the high plateaus of Tibet thrive in thin mountain air that would make you sick. And researchers, including Rasmus Nielsen, traced that ability to a gene called EPAS1, a gene inherited from the Denisovans. A lost species of human reached across 40,000 years to help their descendants breathe at the top of the world. So the other humans are not entirely gone. They are remembered in your cells. Every time your immune system reacts, every time a person high in the mountains takes an easy breath, an extinct kind of human is quietly still at work. But sit with the harder truth. Whatever mixing happened, the other branches still ended. The Neanderthals faded. The Denisovans faded. The Hobbits of Flores faded. One by one, the lights went out across the bush of humanity, until only a single branch was left burning. Yours. The paleoanthropologist Chris Stringer has spent a career studying this collapse, and the honest answer to why it happened is that we are still not certain. Maybe your ancestors competed too well for the same food. Maybe disease swept through small populations. Maybe shifting climates starved the others out. Maybe it was slow absorption, the smaller groups simply blending into the larger one until they were no longer distinct. Probably it was all of these at once, playing out over thousands of years in 1,000 quiet places, with no one alive to notice the ending. There was no single moment when humanity became alone. There was just a last Neanderthal, a last Denisovan, a last tiny human on Flores, who lay down one evening and never woke. And with them, an entire way of being human closed forever. And now turn it on yourself. You live in the only era in which there is just one kind of human. You have never met a different species of person. You never will. When you look across a crowded street, every single face, in all its endless variety, belongs to the same branch as you. That feels normal. It feels like the obvious order of things. It is not. It is the loneliest moment in the human story. For 300,000 years, there was always someone else out there, another kind of human over the next ridge. And then, recently, there wasn't. Maybe that is why you reach so hard for company you cannot find, why you scan the night sky and ask if anyone is out there, why the idea of meeting another intelligent being thrills and frightens you at once. You are a species that grew up with siblings, and then outlived every one of them. Somewhere deep in your story is the memory of not being alone. You stop at the edge of a ridge. Across the valley, there is no other fire. No other kind of person watching the horizon the way you do. There is only you, the last branch of a family that once filled the earth, carrying the others forward in your blood, the only human left to remember that we were never meant to be the only ones.